Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's meeting of the CCLI. Sorry for the slight delay. We've just been getting organised. One or two people had a difficult journey in this morning. So thank you very much for those who attended this morning, both members of the public, councillors and officers. Members of the committee, we have no substitutes this morning, I believe? No. Minutes of the previous meeting, to approve the minutes of the meeting of CCLI on the 23rd of October. I'll move those. Monique, can you second those? Okay. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any declaration of interest? No. Mission of the public. Obviously, this is a public meeting. There's nothing on the agenda today that would exclude the public, so the public are entitled to be here. We've no deputations or petitions. We've got public question time, but I think we'll take everything, since we've only got one item agenda, we'll take everything at number 8. So if anybody wants to talk at that point, we'll take it all at that time. Same with member question time, if you're happy with that. Makes sense. Okay, so item 8, there's a traffic regulation order, amendment order number 7, 224, Church Street, Bridge Street, Platt Lane, London Street, New Street, Sparfields and Slowett. So, Ken, are you going to present this? Okay, thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Chair. As stated, this is a report to consider objections received to the proposed traffic regulation order, amendment number 7, 2024, and it covers Church Street, Bridge Street, Platt Lane, London Street, New Street, Sparfields and Slowett. The local ward councils have received many complaints over the years about obstructive parking taking place on Church Street, Bridge Street, Platt Lane, London Street, New Street, Sparfields and Slowett. After a number of surveys by myself as an officer, the results indicated that we needed to resolve certain issues, and to resolve these issues we decided to put in some lengths of double yellow lines on Bridge Street, Platt Lane, New Street, London Road and Sparfields to maintain HGV access to industrial units and create passing points. We also created a shared residential parking bays and limited waiting bays and other parking bays along Bridge Street, and then propose no waiting at any time and no loading at any time on Church Street, and some short lengths of no loading at any time, no waiting at any time, no loading at any time on elements of Church Street, Nabs Lane and Bankgate. In consultation with the local councils, a scheme was developed and the traffic regulation order was advertised between the 6th of August and the 3rd of September this year, during which we received 6 objections. The first objector is concerned that the proposed restrictions will make the already difficult parking situation in Slowett worse, as the current provision, in their view, is inadequate. They are also concerned about the impact these proposals will have on local businesses and local community services. The objector requests that any additional parking restrictions are only considered alongside additional parking and safe crossing routes. Our response is that parking is in high demand in many parts of Slowett, and this proposed traffic regulation order removes parking or controls parking in a number of important locations, but officers have been mindful of keeping restrictions to a minimum. The objector requests that more parking is created in Slowett. However, the council does not have either the land or the funds available to create any additional off-street parking provision. The second objector is concerned about the introduction of double yellow lines on both sides of Church Street, as it will allow traffic to move more freely and will increase vehicle speeds and create a major safety risk at times for pedestrians and young children. Our view is that parking currently takes place for the majority of the day on the church side of the road, and this will remain. However, the restrictions on the opposite side of the road will prevent parking that not only maintains free flowing, but also, because the parking tends to be where the pavement parking occurs, so restricting this section will improve the route for the majority of pedestrians. The third objection raises two concerns. The first is about clarity of the 20 mile per hour restrictions and the ability to find, as part of these proposals, extensions to the current 20 mile per hour zone, particularly into Nabs Lane. And secondly, where the parked cars removed from Church Street will now park. They are concerned that Nabs Lane will be the place they park and have suggested this road should have permit parking for residents. So in response, there are no changes to proposed to the use of existing speed limits in the area as part of this proposal, and as such this report is unable to deal with that issue. Officers have however recorded this concern, and it will be investigated alongside all other speed limit requests as and when resources become available. The permit parking was not considered for Nabs Lane as an alternative. Spaces can be found on Old Bank and other locations near the village centre, and for any parking displaced on Church Street. The impact on parking on this road will be monitored, but no changes are proposed for the moment. Finally, there were three other objections that all related to the same issue, and this was that the no waiting, no loading at any time across the access to St James's Parish Church. They believe it would have an impact on deliveries and unloading in relation to church and the community centre activities. As this space is required for, officers' response, as this is required for temporary loading and unloading, officers are proposing to remove the no loading restriction that from the proposed traffic regulation order. It cannot remain as it is currently as a keep clear. The markings are not intended to facilitate loading, and any vehicle seen blocking the access would be liable for a fixed penalty. Moving on, the committee are asked to look at 4 options to be considered. A, that the objections are overruled and the proposal implemented as advertised. B, that the majority of the objections be overruled and the proposals be implemented as advertised, with the exception of the proposed no loading at any time outside St James's Church. This is to be removed from the proposal. C, the objections are upheld and those elements of the proposals should be implemented that have not been subject to any objections, that being proposed on New Street, Platt Lane, London Road and Sparfields. And finally, that the objections are upheld and all the proposals are abandoned. Our officer recommendation is B, to remove the no loading element of the restriction on Church Street and maintain all the other remaining elements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Has any member of the committee got any questions for Ken while he's here at this moment? No? Okay, so I'll bring members of the public in. So we'll start with Leslie, if you want to come in, Leslie. Nice to see you. Can you press your button, please? Otherwise nobody will hear you.
Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong one. Okay, so I have to accept that I'm also a resident of Bridge Street. But from when I was a councillor, we're going back over 6 years that this issue has been attempted to deal with. And I'm particularly concerned that the Bridge Street proposals, not only that they go through, but that I think we need enforcement in the village. It's absolutely, we know it's mad everywhere. You can't get buggies past the vehicles on the pavement. I'm particularly concerned, I was first contacted by Shaw's Pallets. They have the most amazing drivers of those trucks. How they get through when there's cars on either side. And very often at the top of Bridge Street by Monsoon, where there's double yellow lines, you still get people parking. Oh, I'm only going to be 10 minutes. I have before now been running around the village trying to find the idiot who'd parked so that we were holding up not only the trucks. So, you know, I think that first one is really important, but it needs to be followed up, because we also have the issue with Bridge Street that Globe Mill was opened, and great, we've got more cars coming in there. But as far as I'm concerned, what they should have followed there, now this isn't the topic for this, but it's relevant to the amount of traffic we now get in Bridge Street, is that nobody, that the bridge that was supposed to be part of the plans years ago has not yet appeared. The travel plans, the bike racks haven't appeared. So the whole trying to move people away from thinking they have a right to park their car wherever they want and avoid, not think about people in wheelchairs. There's a nursery on Bridge Street. There's the watershed has people with disabilities who go in and out, and it's absolutely mayhem at period times. And I know Shaw's are worried that some drivers have threatened they're going to lose business if this isn't enforced. Even when you put cones down, people move them. And on the other side, opposite the community centre, it's all very well saying people can stop to load, but right from early on as a councillor, people were contacting me about the danger of trying to pull out onto the main road at that entrance because people are parking. I'm just dropping the kids off, but actually somebody could die as they kind of go around that corner. So, you know, personally, I would go for number one, but number two I can see as a compromise. But we just need to get this done. It's been 6 years. And, you know, we know there's been COVID and we know your finances and blah, blah, but I really would like to see this happen ASAP. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm sure there's support in there somewhere. We have a gentleman from Shaw Pallets and from Shaw Timber. Which one would you like to go first? Would you like to speak?
Oh, hi there.
Can you just introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Stuart Clough. I'm the Managing Director at Shaw Timber and Shaw Pallet. I'd just echo what Leslie said, really. I'm relatively new in post. I've been in the business for 6 months, and it's chaos up there. I mean, my main concern is actually we've got some issues around the commerciality of our business and wagons not getting in on time, which might lose customers. Therefore, you know, we've got over 100 jobs and mortgages that count on us down there on Bridge Street. But I'm actually more concerned about the traffic in and out of cornfields. That was my main concern with Steve, who's our health and safety manager, around, you know, what happens with people dropping off in at Cornfields Nursery and the amount of traffic. You know, we've got some video evidence of our wagon drivers, you know, moving with millimetres down that road either side, and you know, it just needs resolving. I mean, we're a bit landlocked in there. We've looked at moving, you know, but we've signed a 10-year lease, so we're here to stay. You know, we're dropping investment into capital expenditure. We're looking to double the size of those two businesses in the next 5 years. They've been recently bought by a private equity business in London, but we're staying in Slough. You know, we had an option to move. We're not doing that. So we've got to deal with what we've got right now, and over and above the health and safety concerns, you know, we've got that commercial challenge, which is we might get to a point where we've got suppliers who refuse to deliver, which is a major problem for us. So we just want to get it resolved. We're willing to work on it. We've got some car parking space. Cornfields rent some of that around the back. So yeah, we're willing to work with the council to see what we need to do, but it's been a long time coming. I'm only 6 months in, so I can't speak for the longevity, but certainly having spoken to the two previous MDs, Chris Hillaby and Chris Woodhead, you know, it just needs resolving now. I mean, the parking restrictions are one thing, but also we're also worried about the state of the curbs and the flooding that occurs when the drains that have collapsed come up, because now we're getting into winter. You know, I've seen videos of our people, not necessarily general public, but our employees, so the humans that are in our care, holding on to the fence as they walk between our two manufacturing locations because the ice has flooded the pavement because the road floods. So if the restrictions are going to put in, and we can pass as option 1 or option 2, if those restrictions get put in, the curbs need fixing and the drains need fixing first. Otherwise, those, you know, it's all going to be a bit of a, you know, waste of time, I think.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Would your colleague like to say anything?
Other than echoing, really, sorry, my name's Stephen Rowland. I'm the QHS&E manager at Shaw Pallet, Shaw Timber. Nice to meet you. Anyway, so, yeah, Stuart, as he's mentioned, has only been here for a number of months. I've been here slightly longer than that. Straight away, when I joined the businesses, I could see this was going to be an issue. I was not aware at that time that this had been going on for quite a long time in respect to actually restricting the parking in that area. I drive in there every day, and I know, because obviously driving in, you're going to see all types of different parking. It's horrendous. really to sort of echo what Stuart's just said regarding the health and safety concerns we have of people accessing the nursery. It's not always by a car, the little push chairs and what have you. You got little kiddies sort of holding their hands. It's a dangerous environment. The drains are terrible, the curbstones have all dislodged. It's a mess, it really is. What we want to do moving forward is move towards more time deliveries, so at least we can sort of manage the traffic flow of the HGVs in the area. And it's a very good point that we make regarding sort of the skills that the individual drivers have. It's a miracle that they've not damaged anything at this stage. I'm not saying they haven't. I'm sure they must have clipped some cars over the years, but since we've been here, I've not seen anything. But maybe it's because they're used to it. I don't know. But we shouldn't have to rely on just pure luck, you know, to ensure that, you know, these areas are safe. That's all I've got to say, really. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for your comments. Shall we bring Harry in, who's online?
Thanks, Jan. Apologies I can't be there in person today. A bit snowed under at the moment. I think I'd like to speak along with my ward colleague, Councillor McLaughlin, and former ward colleague, Leslie, in support of the proposed traffic regulation order with the amendment regarding the small section of road on Bank Gate. That's to say, waiting and no loading restrictions, WR lines on Church Street in Slough on the other side to St James Church, combination of WR lines and permit parking on Bridge Street, and new sections of WR lines on parts of Platt Lane, New Street, London Road and Spa Fields. The current situation on Church Street, where cars park on both sides of a narrow road in the middle of a village centre, makes it really difficult often for villagers for vehicles to pass through, including potentially emergency vehicles. Cars often mount the pavement, making it impossible for people with prams or people in wheelchairs to use the pavement, forcing them and other people to walk in the middle of the road. This is dangerous, and a lot of residents have been in touch with us as ward councillors about this issue. And this particular stretch of road, we've actually received probably more emails about this than any other issue, except for the potential closure of Corn Valley Leisure Centre. So there's a real strength of feeling about this in the village. The no loading restrictions, along with the no waiting restrictions, will provide an extra layer of protection for pedestrians and through traffic, preventing any car stopping at all during peak times. We've also been working for a really, really long time now with Shaw Timber and Shaw Pallets, mostly with Chris Hillaby and Chris Woodhead, who have, I think, now both left those businesses. The HGV struggling to enter and exit Bridge Street. You know, the drivers for both those companies have an immense amount of skill. It's amazing that, you know, what they have to go through on a daily basis. Bridge Street is home to the New Globe development, several long-standing businesses, residential dwellings, a community centre, a nursery. All of those have a really important part to play in Slough, and they contribute to the life of the village. Balancing out the needs of those while also ensuring that everyone can thrive is really, really difficult. These proposals balance out those needs in the best way possible, and hopefully we'll just manage to find a way forward for everyone. The proposals for WL lines on London Road and the industrial estate at the other end of New Street to the village centre will also help with HGV access in this area. The amendment proposed by council officers just to remove the no loading restrictions on Bank Gate while retaining the no waiting restrictions outside the community centre. That'll allow for loading and unloading by groups such as the Scouts. That's a really reasonable and sensible amendment. I think, just to echo what Leslie said a while about enforcement, while these proposals will go some way to improving the parking situation, we do need to ensure that there is adequate enforcement. There's very, very rarely a perfect solution to traffic and parking issues that satisfies absolutely everyone. And I'm under no illusion that this traffic regulation order will, you know, wave a magic wand and solve everything. But for these proposals to have teeth, we do need the restrictions to be properly enforced. And indeed, actually putting down this traffic regulation order will allow council officers to take action in the first place, whereas at the moment they don't have any powers to do so. And then finally, Chair, I think we should also thank the Highways officer responsible for this project, Ken, who has put a lot of work into this project for a huge amount of time. I think sometimes residents don't quite appreciate just how difficult putting these things together has been. But I think we really do need to give Ken the appreciation and thanks for working on this project. So thank you, Chair, and I hope that you will pass the order as amended in the report.
Thank you, Harry. Matt, would you like to come in at this point?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, there's not much really I can add to what's already been said. The three of us, the three local ward members are myself, Councillor McCarthy and Councillor Addy are all in unanimous agreement about this. It has been a long time coming, predates me as a councillor. And I would like to thank officers for the work that has gone into this. We, Liz and the three of us walked around years ago to start planning this scheme. And it's nice to see it finally come to fruition. And then bless Ken. Yeah, that man's a workhorse. He does a lot for this council. And we should all be grateful for the work he does and the skill and the expertise that he has. The needs on Bridge Street for a solution to the problem of HGVs getting stuck is obvious, and it is a threat to those local businesses and local employers who do a lot for the community. They need that support, and they need those changes to come in, and they are long overdue. And I won't labour the point because you've heard it plenty of times today, but that is obvious. It is dangerous on Church Street as people parking on both sides trying to pull out of Nab Lane can't see, and there have been accidents there in the past. I'm not sure if anybody's been seriously hurt, but it is only a matter of time, in my opinion. It will reduce congestion in the village, particularly at peak times, because at the moment that road is effectively one lane, and cars have to either start queuing up Bankgate or queuing down into the town centre to wait to get through and get by. Option B is the obvious choice, having read the report. The amendment is a small amendment, and as well as the Scout group unloading and loading all of their camping equipment, there's also the Christmas lights that get stored at the community centre, and that's where hearses park, so that funerals can take coffins into the church. So that loading is really quite a necessary thing, and so it still represents an improvement going from the keep clear, which is not adequate, to the no waiting but loading. That is a sensible amendment, and I think the scheme should go through as is. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Any member of the committee got any comments? Moses?
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to make a sort of broader comment, really, which is about increased levels of pavement parking that we've seen recently, causing widespread access issues across the borough. I think partly this is due to increased number of vehicles, partly bigger vehicles, and partly a lack of consideration on the part of parkers. I think, Leslie, you mentioned people thinking, I'm just stopping for 10 minutes. But actually, the broader road safety issues around that are that people with pushchairs have to go out into the highway. I recognise that one of the objectors felt that slower traffic due to congestion was safer, and although this may seem intuitively correct, the opposite is actually the case, and it is a question of safety. I just wanted to say as well that it's one of our strategic aims in Kirklees to increase the proportion of our journeys that are undertaken without a car to increase active travel and modal shift. For all of the health and well-being benefits that active travel bring us, but also because of the broader environmental aims of the council and the reduced carbon loading that active travel and public transport impose. Also improves road use for other road users in their cars because there's less congestion, and it improves local air quality as well. So I think broadly supportive of moves to reallocate space in favour of active travel modes, and very happy to propose this as per recommendations. Option B, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Thank you, Moses. I've listened to everybody's comments this morning, and I'm happy to second this, and I think this is going to be a real positive. And as Moses said, we want to encourage people where possible to try and shift away from using the car. Not always possible, but hopefully we'll encourage a few more people. And I think it was Harry who said that there's never a good solution, is there? Because whatever you do, it impacts someone, and it's always a challenge. We have historic villages with historic village centres that weren't designed for cars, so we have to make the best of it we can. We also have to realise that we have industry in there that creates the wealth and jobs that we desperately need. So from an economic, I put my other hat on, from economic growth and regen, we want to do everything we can to support businesses. We don't want them feeling that we're not supportive. So from that point of view, I will be supportive alone, because we need to encourage that businesses in the village. And the no loading and unloading option B seems to be the perfect one, because as you pointed quite rightly out, that it's actually used for lots of other things apart from the Scouts. So those spaces are important. So I'm happy to support option B. There's nobody here to support any objections to this. All we've heard this morning is positive support from the 2 ward members, an ex-ward member, local businesses. So I think this is the right option, and I'm going to do the same. So thank you very much, Ken, because the public just don't know how long these things take. I remember getting lobbied by Leslie when she was a councillor. So it is taking some getting there, but we've got there, I think, and it's a solution to an ongoing problem. So are we all the committee happy to support option B? Yep, right. That's accepted, Ken, so now you can implement that. And again, going back to what someone said about enforcement, there's nothing to enforce at the moment. Once these WL lines go, there will be something to enforce, and that's something the enforcement team, through the ward members, can probably look at. The ward members can feed that back to the enforcement team in future. We'll make sure that this, because we've got WLs, they're actually enforced. So otherwise, it's a bit of a waste of time. So that's ward members, I'm sure, will be contacting our enforcement team once those WL lines down. Members of the public, thank you very much for coming along this morning and your contribution, very helpful. So thank you very much, everybody, and I will now close this meeting, and we can all go play in the snow.